Yo, what's up guys? So we're here to showcase off some TrapTrix in 2019. Obviously they got a new Link monster, and I think the time that TrapTrix actually saw a lot of play was in that deck called Hat, which was of course, the artifacts mixed in with the TrapTrix. And also with the hands, but I feel like the hands, they're kind of outdated in Yu-Gi-Oh! They definitely don't have the potential that they used to because there's just so many things that would prevent them from being able to go off. They're a lot slower. Whereas with the TrapTrix, you happen to have the back row access immediately. And on top of that, Crackdown is a great addition to the deck. And also, well, Utopia Beyond is going to be really great just for yourself being able to hit your opponent for like 6k damage. It has a lot of potential just to give you that extra edge that you might need to deal some damage. Because at the end of the day, it is kind of a rank 4-ish deck. Although a lot of times you might want to make Rafflesia, so you can go ahead and have a longer game here. But the TrapTrix Sarah is actually still relatively strong. It lets you special summon a TrapTrix from your deck if a normal trap is activated, and then that card will get some type of a bonus effect. And then on top of that, if your other TrapTrix monster is activated, except during damage step, you can set another whole normal trap card directly from your deck. And that was a relatively quicker game because, of course, the number 39 Utopia Beyond, which I've seen a lot of people tech in. Heck, I saw it in Dinosaurs where they were able to basically tech it in. And it can be definitely a great card in addition to just any deck can make rank 4s. But rank 4s have kind of phased out of the game for the most part. I remember when the Baguska was really popular, just to go ahead and make it turn 1 just as a defensive card. But then when Lynx came out, that basically made the card irrelevant. But anyways, now we have a Metaltron. This guy's playing a Kaiju variant. Now, I wouldn't consider TrapTrix to be a very high tier deck. But courtesy of Anorthotho over here, we've got a pretty cool deck. If you guys are interested in playing Rogue or just see something a little bit different here, because we're kind of waiting on that new ban list, which I'm hoping drops relatively soon here in the TCG. But he's taken a lot of damage here, but the whole point of TrapTrix is really a longer game. They're not going to be able to consistently OTK, although this card does open up the doors to basically make something 0, and again, it hits for 6k, and it's a pretty important card in the deck because later on you will be able to do minor amounts of damage because your opponent might not have a card because you're activating all of your trap hole cards. That's the point of this whole archetype. This as its own archetype never really took off and became really strong. Again, the best thing that you had was the artifacts, which I still think are really viable to put in here, but again, the hands are just outdated in the game. Especially when this day and age everything is so fast, and then the Din Girsu basically gets around a lot of game mechanics. But anyways, we got the Double or Nothing, we got TrapTrix, we got Floodgate Trap Hole, we have another copy of Floodgate Trap Hole, so that's going to go ahead and move something to face down defense position. And then on top of that, we have the Trap Hole Nightmare, especially when you, let's say, take a Link Zone and they have something stuck in a certain area that's face down. It can kind of block some of the Link Zones, so it does open up the door for other plays here. And on top of that, Crackdown, which is another newer Yu-Gi-Oh card that just came out. It definitely helps out the archetype. Again, taking your opponent's stuff, and also negating their effects, and this is pretty good over here. So he goes ahead, Crackdown takes the monster, he activates Remove Brainwashing, also the Floodgate Trap Hole over there, and then Murmillo pops the Remove Brainwashing, so now Crackdown is still in effect. Great play over there. I liked that. That was really cheeky of the other guy to also play Remove Brainwashing. I remember when that was a pretty popular thing to do with the whole Kaiju thing, but I think that this deck is more a rogue, anti-meta-ish setup here. But I feel like a lot of times with these decks, they just kind of lack the ability to break boards. Although again, with this card definitely helps out here. And also there's Mind Control in the deck as well. But I want to give some suggestions also to this deck, because I'll give you guys a deck profile in case any of you guys want to mess around with this, because I do love covering just off-meta stuff once in a while, and again, I just haven't seen a pure TrapTrix deck. But look at all of the back row, all of the free advantage. He's going to go ahead and activate that Kaiju front, but he's going to go ahead and stop Manhunt, and that's going to also get stopped over here. Remember that Gamma Seal can get rid of counters from anywhere on the field, and it's not looking too good for our opponent, but he goes ahead and gets to the upstart, and that is going to go ahead and be GG. I guess he just decided just to GG. I guess this next card was Metaverse anyways, so it didn't really matter here. But a really cool deck. Thank you, Anorthotho, for sending that in. But here's the deck profile, in case any of you guys did want to try out the deck yourself. I still think that this day and age, Instant Fusion is such a key card. in the meta right now, just to be able to break boards. And I would say that this deck can definitely benefit off of course, having the ability to go for 1,000 Eyes, just to take a monster that your opponent has, and then you could go ahead and use it for link material. Now, I do want to mention, just as a heads up, Sarah does require a TrapTrix monster, but you can link from one thing into another. And then go into Sarah. So you can go, if you want to, because Mind Control as well as Crackdown, the monster you definitely want to get rid of. I mean, if you happen to take a level 4, obviously easy access to these cards, but definitely great use out of Sarah as well. But basically, you got to try to be able to break boards a little bit better. I think that would be the one thing that this deck can suffer from. So I think cards like Instant Fusion would definitely help out. Even Twin Twisters, I think it's just kind of a required card at this point in the game, just because there's just so much random things that you could lose to that can tech in Mystic Mine. But anyways, onwards with the deck profile. If you guys have any suggestions for this deck, let me know. I always say time after time, you got to play Impermanence, but this time there's so many back row in here that I still think that Impermanence is good because it stops those turn 1 plays that your opponent's going to be making, and it does technically help also break boards. So I think that those are 2 great additions. Plus, if they have like an Omni Negate, you can just go ahead and utilize that Impermanence, force them to negate, and then go ahead and Mind Control, do whatever. But I think also in the extra deck, Cerberus as well as Phoenix are just really key cards that you can just utilize after taking your opponent's stuff. Can definitely help out. But anyways, let's go ahead and showcase off his variant of the deck. So we have 3 copies of Atrax over here, and then this makes it so you can activate whole normal trap cards from your hand. So that's actually really good. Obviously, that surprise factor of basically having a hand trap is in effect. But again, the problem that I'd say that this deck has is going second in the game. And then Diona over here, this one lets you basically get back another card. And then go into another ring for this is lets you target another TrapTrix, special summon it, and then when this card special summon, you get to target a normal whole card and then reset that target but banish it during the end phase of your next turn. So basically, it lets your opponent know I'm going to have one of these cards. But then we have 3 copies of Murmillo, which was the most popular TrapTrix in the game. Just lets you just get rid of a back row. Really good, solid stuff. And then we have 3 copies of Coronatus, or I guess Mantis in the TCGs, what the name got changed to. But anyways, it just lets you add a TrapTrix monster from the deck to your hand. And then with Nepenthes over here, if you activate another trap hole card, you get to, except for during the damage step, you can add to your hand or special summon another TrapTrix monster. And then obviously with this can proc its effects. Great stuff indeed. And then we got Mind Control and then Indulgence. You don't really need your extra deck too much in this. I would say these are the 2 most important cards. Heck, I was even thinking that you might be able to mix in Duality with this deck, but then I was like, well, with Sarah, it kind of goes against that card. You could even throw in Desires if you wanted to drop Indulgence, because the deck, even though there's so many targets for you to go ahead and hit, you're probably not going to reach the end of your deck because, again, it's a slower paced deck. It's not an OTK combo heavy deck or just set up with those boards that are like unbeatable. It can, I mean, if you happen to have a bunch of back row and you just basically stop everything that your opponent does, yeah, you're basically winning the game anyways in that aspect. But there's not key cards that, like, if you banish, you lose. I mean, I guess this card opens up some cheeky plays, but for the most part, again, it's not going to be one of those decks where it beats you in 1 turn via just OTKing. But anyways, yeah, Triple Club's Indulgence, then Dark Hole. I think you can opt to use Regeki instead. I'm not sure if there was some interesting interactions with Dark Hole that you preferred utilizing this card over Regeki. Then we had the double nothing, of course, for the Utopia. And then we have the Deep Dark Trap Hole. This is still not that bad of a card against some matchups, but there are some matchups where it's going to do absolutely nothing, but it does banish that monster, so that is kind of nice. And then the classic Bottomless Trap Hole. And then we have TrapTrix Trap Hole Nightmare, which is actually probably one of their better cards. And then 3 copies of Floodgate. And then this is the card that came out that I think most people aren't even using for TrapTrix. It's basically just be able to get any trap card that you want. Remember that you can only activate 1 trap card for the rest of this turn after this card resolves. So use everything and then go for this card, then activate the effect, which definitely does help out, you know, with Crackdown being able to also be able to negate a monster and take it. But again, I think that you can probably use the extra deck room maybe a little bit better. I know that you have that Utopia combo, so maybe that's why you're like, I'm just going to throw an Indulgence. But with 3 copies of everything. But I still think that those other cards can be quite viable. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed seeing a different deck. Oh, we gotta go over the extra deck. Hold on. 2 copies of Utopia Kaiser, 3 copies of Utopia Beyond, 1 copy of just the classic Utopia, it's alternate artwork, and then 3 copies of Rafflesia, 3 copies of Utopia Double, and 3 copies of Sarah, which is the TrapTrix Link monster. But hopefully you guys enjoyed seeing something a little bit different. Like I said, I haven't really covered a pure TrapTrix deck, I think, ever. I think everyone's been mixing them in stuff. And like I said before, I still think the artifact is very viable, but I think the hand, like the Ice Hand and the Fire Hand, these cards have just been outdated. Again, you're just going to get Dingirsu, they're going to bounce it, they're just going to do other things to it. And especially when you go summon 1, pass, or set 1 pass, it's too slow this day and age. So there's another Prominence Hand. If you control a fire, okay, you special summon. Okay, I didn't even know this card existed. I probably even made a video talking about it. But sometimes it's just when cards just don't see some play, you just forget about them. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys have any other suggestions for the TrapTrix deck in 2019, let me know down below in the comment section below. But I think it's a fun little deck. It's definitely not, I would say, near like the tier 1 decks at all, but it can be just kind of a fun deck just to mess around with. Again, we're just waiting on that ban list, so I'm interested to cover just more random stuff until we get that new list. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like on it. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button if you want to see more unique Yu-Gi-Oh decks like the pure TrapTrix 2019 variant. And if you guys got any other cool replays, feel free to send them into AzneyesReplays@gmail.com if you featured on the channel. Thanks for watching, and peace.